Welcome back, everybody, to Leading Crypto on this beautiful Monday here. We got a major week here for the crypto markets and markets as a whole, as we have a major fib time coming in today that Magic Internet Money will be discussing. We've got some U.S. elections taking place tomorrow. We have CPI data coming out on Thursday. I think there's something else kind of coming out on Friday as well. So a very jam-packed news catalyst type of week. There's a lot of things going around right now with FTX, FTT, Sam Bankman-Fried. We're going to touch on the FTT chart for a bit, covering Bitcoin, S&P 500, Ethereum, Litecoin today, and some order flow and open interest as always. So if that sounds interesting to you, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Make sure you stick around for the entire video. And now let's just jump right into it, get to the most important question of the day, which is Max, Magic Internet Money. How are you gentlemen doing today?
Very well. It's been a slow day so far, but very well.
I wouldn't say it was too slow. Asia definitely sold it down in London. But yeah, no, it's a good day so far. Pretty simple levels, guys. We're just going to roll through this fairly quickly because not much has changed for us. So big level right now, 12M1, 20,688.50, kind of the level we've been talking about. Really want to see this holding. Main reason being is, again, we'll zoom out, as we always say, when in doubt, zoom it out. And you can see that this is the area to be above. You can see here, 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 and again back here that we're back testing this area now. So all I've done is marked out the key level along with the previous week open. And realistically, you know, the weekly is going to be a fairly important chart, and I'll show you what I mean by that. And if you go out to like the weekly, and you're looking at this just from a weekly break of structure, right? You had this nice break right here of the 20,052 level, which was going to be resistance, and where supply was coming in for several weeks. We've closed above it. We've back tested it. So what we don't want to see is we don't want to see Bitcoin coming back to that level and losing it. You lose that level, the uptrend then is kind of in jeopardy, and you're looking closer to the lower of the range. I think at that time you're looking down to like 19,150. But until then, I think direction is up. Preferably would like to hold this zone that we're in now that we just discussed. But, you know, we have to be open to the idea that if we do come back to this region of the chart, you've got some very clear levels to work off of. And so that's really what you want to be focusing on is 20,140. And then you have the previous week low just beneath you. And below that, you have the monthly pivot, which is a statistical target. So there is a chance we come back. We do take these lows that we discussed earlier, and you know, things aren't necessarily broken. However, they don't look quite as nice at that point. So what is beneath us are single prints, right? So we know if we make that move down into this region, we've got a really nice level to work off of. Previous week low daily, meaning that we can get a swing failure pattern. We can get nice reactions off this area, but preferably want to hold in this zone. We really don't want to be living below it. So if we get down here, you have single prints from the whole move up. You have 3 of them, but they're essentially just one giant single print. So you have a statistical target there. If hit, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to find acceptance. Sometimes these are defended as trend continuations. However, any kind of acceptance into them, and you know, you want to be watching the order flow for that, you could find a move very quickly down to like this 19,322 level, and beneath that is even like 19,150, etc. So playing it level to level for now. You're at support, you know, want to see this holding, get a nice support resistance flip, essentially. That's all you're looking at. And if you can get that, you can come up and challenge into this daily and a daily naked point of control between 21,236 and 21,295. If you can claim that on, you know, even a 4-hour closure, I would say there's probably a pretty good chance you're going to get that continuation up to those targets higher in the range, which for me do come in about 21,827, and then we're looking up to like 22,500 and maybe even $23,000. But for now, you do have some really nice levels to play off of. It's just a range, traded accordingly. To CVO's point, he was talking about fib time today. So does that mean that we're going to absolutely just have a, you know, a busy day? It could. We do have quite a bit of news this week. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of some of this stuff on here, which I don't know why I've got so much stuff on here. But we'll go ahead and knock it out real quick. Fib time, it's the 1-to-1 of our anniversary from our 3K low, which is fairly important. So what you'll notice is we actually use this to come into this area. And if you guys recall, on the 14th, before we had made our move down into the lows here on the 18th, we were given, I think I gave 18,246. So I was off on the low, but not the timing. We said sometime between June 20th and October 9th, we were looking for bottoming price action, which we are getting. We're still sideways. Now we're coming into the one-to-one of our move down from 2018 all the way down to the lows right here, or I guess 2017 to 2018. So you've been basically downtrending for a full year. A lot of times, as we've discussed, assets do tend to bottom in similar time frames as cycles because one-to-ones represent the amount of time it takes to distribute buyers and sellers. And because fear and greed really doesn't change in humans too much, that's why cycles work. You get very similar moves. Now, are they going to be exact? This one was, the move up was an exact one-to-one. However, that doesn't necessarily mean the move down will be a one-to-one. So we are still looking at this pretty direction neutral, but if you start breaking back below down to like that 19.1 area, I would exercise a little bit of caution. It would look like a series of lower highs. I think that's what I was alluding to on those drawings when we pulled it up earlier. And so I am looking at this as an inflection point in the market. If price is going to dump, it does feel like it was probably just going to do so already. I think this month is going to be very telling. And if price is still holding strong and making some moves up, we could be looking for a nice move to the high of the range. And then we get to play the game of, are we going to come up here and backtest old support, or does it remain range bound, which, there's always a likelihood of both. The question is how you trade it and the positions that you take to make sure that you're in a position not to get, dumped on by the market, or have the market rip your stop loss the opposite direction. So I would just say trade with a little bit of caution this week, knowing that there is going to be probably some volatility and that a pullback can still happen. That's really all I've got on Bitcoin. Pretty simple chart.
There we go. Right, I'll take it over, shall I? Okay, so I don't really trade at the weekends, but I went over this last night in the members update. You could have spotted in this region. So if we were to mark it off and say, okay, this is the range low over the weekend, and the high doesn't really matter, but you can go through the chart and you can find that there's a lot of buyers coming in. So you have 2.7 million there and a large increase in open interest. You have it quite a few times throughout the chart. Just keep scrolling through and find a couple more. I found them all this morning. And then here you've got a 7.5 and a 9 million increase in open interest. And you've got a lot of buyers coming into the chart. And when looking at it and you have these large increases when you're coming towards the top of the range, you have to think, are they doing a good job of pushing you higher? And this large spike in open interest and longs coming into the market ultimately immediately got put into water. And as soon as they were trapped, the market really didn't let up on them. You even got some bearish divergence right at the end to signal that, okay, the breakdown was coming. And then as you moved into today, you had this swing failure pattern that Magic mentioned in the stream this morning. And then while we were in our members only stream, you were rejecting from a range that Magic gave for the weekend. And it was also the current daily pivot from said range. It was not the easiest trade to take, but there was certainly your entry triggers if you were using some of the templates that we have in the group. But the best trade so far today that has been given was actually quite a simple one. It was actually the golden pocket. I've got it cleaned up here, from the low to the high. And you bounced off right from the 618. We go to this chart. And you can, as soon as you touched it, made contact with it, the bounce away, you had buyers coming in, you got your buying imbalances on the volume chart, you had all your entry triggers that you need on there, and the trend looked so good. I took this trade, I'm still in this trade, it's just not really going anywhere, that's the issue. You can see as the trend started, granted this candle is red, but ultimately it was quickly reversed in the next candle. And it was actually a positive candle overall, with the delta being positive. You've got open interest increasing, delta going with the move. Granted, volume was dropping off, but that was kind of the, kind of leading into where we are now, where the volume's just been really, really, really slow. And while we're trying to hold the 12-month, the last year's pivot, last year's 12-month pivot. Issue we've got is you have more buyers coming in, and yet we're just trapped here. We're staying below the VWAP, we're unable to claim it. If I go back to my trading view chart, this one here, where the VWAP's actually coming in, have a look. It's just below the daily, and the daily is actually if you're drawing this as your range, is actually the value area for this whole section of the chart here. Really, really, really has to claim it to, secure not going towards the lows, in my opinion. But the fact that you've got these buyers coming in, granted it's not much, I will admit there's not many buyers that are entering here, but the fact that they are not taking us anywhere right now is an issue. If we were to lose that 12-month pivot and start to make our way to the golden pocket again, what you're going to have is the fact is all these buyers here that have entered here, including these ones, where their stop loss is going to be. Well, they're going to be either at this low or just below. What you can do is you can draw a box like this and say, okay, for example, this, and you can say, okay, that's where their liquidity is going to be. Now, what needs to be seen when we get there is you need to see stagnant open interest, which is these longs effectively getting taken over by a bigger position. If you're not getting that, it's just going to get a cascade of sells, and it's not looking good for the long side. But we could always come to the lower end of the golden pocket, take some of that liquidity, and then get the move up. But right now, with the current state of the chart, with us not being able to break the VWAP, it's not looking good right now. So interested to see how this plays out. If these buyers can't take us above the VWAP and that daily, I am expecting lower. And if we don't get that stagnant open interest of positions changing hands here, well, I'll be honest with you, I'm ultimately expecting at least these daily, this untapped daily here in this naked point control. But I really, really, really want, and I said it all last week, I really want these lows to be taken and get that monthly pivot tapped. But yeah, that's, as Magic said, that's kind of the straws to not drop much lower. So that's all I've got, CVO. Apologies, it was quick and short. But the volume so far today in the night shift, as you call it, has been rather slow.
The night shift. My man working overnight. No, that's good. Yeah, short and sweet today is it's the goal. So I'm gonna take a look at a couple alts. We're gonna take a look at Ethereum, Litecoin, Doge, and then FTT, right? So FTT, someone asked for this in the group, and so I haven't even posted this. I just actually built this out just a little bit. It's could still use a little bit more work. I just put the name tag on it, and that's all I'm calling this so far. So just kidding. But so FTT, FTX, and Bankman-Fried, right? All this drama going around. It's almost a little like reminiscent of Coinbase just a few months ago, going bankrupt, right? It was the tea of the week, so to speak. And whether or not that has any kind of impact on the price action is obviously yet to be seen. You already have a huge downtrend, just as anything else in the market. I'm just going to kind of dress this up in a couple of ways here, but there's a few just major levels, just kind of on like a macro version, I guess you could look at. We're on the daily time frame here. I'm going to actually dress this chart up a little bit more in the group probably later on today. But just on a kind of a glancing base here, right? If anybody's looking at this as either a descending triangle, or if depending on how you're going to angle these lows here, you can start looking, I guess, as a falling wedge or something of that nature. But either way, right? Like I'm sure many or few are looking at this in this kind of light. If you get the break of here, you got a golden pocket target all the way back up at like $65. Obviously, that'd be like a 200% move with things in the in the crosshairs. However, looking at this in a different view, right? So just kind of keep that in mind, I suppose. But this is a little, too big of a. This is going all the way back from like 2021. So this is a pretty big just trend, and it wouldn't be necessarily classified, in a sense of a pattern, in my opinion. But we'll see how that would play out. But looking at this as far as other confluences would go. On a high time frame basis, right? If you're just to pull the structural range here, so very similar to how Bitcoin had that 2021 area, right, where we just basically ranged it out the entire year. Looking at it in that sense, you've got a pretty decent area right here based on volume. And if you notice, at the value area low is where our point of control is coming in, right? So Not necessarily the greatest thing, right? And for two reasons, because if you start to flip this, obviously you don't want to see your range low lost come back on a back test, start closing, especially dailies below this. But if you do lose this low, you're also losing your point of control, which is not been given up, right? Basically since last year, right? So on the case that is had, I would imagine we see a pretty drastic move to the downside. Obviously, just looking looking left, you don't see much support in this region. You could start dissecting this little area like $8 to $10 for some support. But in reality, I would imagine if we actually break this level, you could come back all the way down to like $5. One of the reasons being, and before we even get to that's a doomsday target, right? So like, let's just say we actually hold support right here and we start taking off. Aside from the golden pocket, which, like I said, that's an area where some are going to be looking for if we break this, downward trend line and triangle area. But if you look at this in the sense of a couple of high time frame pivots, we've got a yearly key level, right, that comes in. So this is a high time frame average of price. Comes in about $42. That would be a major area to pay attention for if we do get a move to the upside here. You've also got an untapped quarterly, a little bit closer to us, around $29, right? So from where we are to that region would be quite a nice little bounce, about 30%. And in honesty, we may see something like that just in general, even if we do actually run it up to that kind of area, and then we break down and continue to move to the downside. But as far as, honestly, in a trade sense, like this is a pretty decent area to kind of consider with a clear invalidation right below. You start losing this level, stop you out, and you're done, right? In my opinion, this could be a really nice move just up to the untapped quarterly. I wouldn't even really get too involved with anything higher than that at the moment. And like I said, you got a nice stop loss just below that, basically $1, stop loss just below us. But that's a pretty decent move to be had if we move from where we are now just to the untapped quarterly at $30. From there, claim this level, and then we take it up to the next region, so on and so forth. And, then, see how things kind of unfold. But now as far as the doomsday target would go, it's interesting to see how this aligns because now if I turn this off, right, we're going to come down, we're going to take off a couple of these levels here. We do have an untapped yearly key level, right? So an untapped high time frame average of price with a high statistical hit rate, right? That comes all the way back down here at $4.48. So we left this behind basically from 2021. Similar to Bitcoin, right? When we had that at 20,000, I think 688 in change in that region. We, Magic's on about that level quite often. Obviously, we came back down to that region. So not to say that we have to come down to this area and not to say that we have to do it now, but like I said, if you start to see the price action losing this level, especially on a daily closing basis, realistically, I'd be looking for this level. And what is interesting to note is if you pull, this is on Bitfinex, right? So, I mean, this is just depending on which kind of exchange you're looking at. I pulled this one up because it had a little bit more information than some others. But if you go on a global range, right? So you're pulling all the data now. Note how if we came back down, you're going to be bouncing off of the global value area high, which is also the untapped yearly. So this would be the doomsday scenario, right? But at the same time, this would be a super technical move. I know that the news is going to align well with this and make it look like this is Terra Luna, 2, but just as anything else, I mean, that is a super technical move if that is to be had. So something to keep in mind. Like I said, I'm going to address this up a little bit more locally as well, and put this into the group probably later on today. But just interesting to see how those kind of align well with each other. So just wanted to point that out. Okay, Ethereum, really, super, almost no update here, right? We're almost in the same position we've been in. Taking a look at this, right, the old range that we've been, really utilizing from last year, catching the highs once again. So still on a daily time frame here, just to kind of showcase, you're just getting wicks back to the overall range high. Pullback area, you got the 2017 all-time high comes in right at the quarterly VWAP. If we get it, you got a local golden pocket comes in around these regions as well, right, just below. So as far as upside continuation, you really want to see 1641, really claimed as far as Ethereum would go. Do have a untapped monthly key level just below us here is right above our quarterly, and that is coming in about 1475. So somewhere, something to be paying attention for. You got the EQ of the range, quarterly VWAP, like I said, and then basically the local golden pocket right below that at like 1,400. So in this $75 region, you got a lot of support coming in for Ethereum. So if we do get a pullback, I'd be looking for that area specifically. Otherwise, break and hold 1641, challenging into the untapped weekly. Obviously, we got our targets to the upside here as well. And then we would update accordingly. Sideways forever, guys. Codename Brazil. Sideways forever. Litecoin, right? So I haven't covered Litecoin quite as much, at least publicly here, but I did want to touch on this because in our last night's member-only market update, we were kind of covering how a lot of these ranges that we've been paying attention to for several months, are coming into full rotations here. So it's definitely a time to be paying attention. Once again, Magic has pointed out that, not necessarily does this day have to be something exclusive, but we're around a time frame where, some fireworks, could very well go off, right? So, and we got a lot of news lined up in this week too, which also always is just so perfect. But for Litecoin here, you got an untapped monthly, and the overall range high comes in at $77. This is the major target we've been looking for ever since the June low. It's not a huge move. 90% is pretty big actually. So, but compared to some, when everybody's looking for like the next Matic and the next Quant, pushing 200 and 300%. But this has been a nice gradual, almost 100% move over the last few months if you were prepared for it. But this would be a next major target. And then from there, if you flip that and claim this level, we'd be looking up from there. But nothing out of the usual here. I know everybody gets really really excited, but everybody gets excited when the coins that they hold obviously are moving. It's just it always needs a news catalyst, right? Everybody's like, why is Litecoin pumping? It's just sometimes it just bounces off the point of control and runs it up, right? Sometimes it just bounces from support and moves without a news catalyst, right? News is always very interesting because you got things like Solana even recently, which I still think Solana has a decent amount of upside as well. Had a Google partnership, right as it was pumping. Let's take a look at Solana actually. Not that I'm bringing it up. So we had this untapped quarterly, which was a major target of ours that we were looking for, right? Really, I don't want to use the word shill, I guess, but really, shilled this level. Even publicly. I think that Gareth and I even talked about this a couple times when we were on Debate Crypto as we were coming into these two areas right here. That this is a major area that I was picking up Solana, and this is just a spot move. Like I wasn't, leverage trading or anything like that with this. But even for that, like a major target of ours, even from the weekly, came in right here. So you had a 36% move, very technical target up here, high statistical, hit rate that we were going to meet it. And then, you get the news that Google's partnering, right? So to me, the news, those quick news announcements, especially, this is getting listed on Robinhood, or, Elon Musk buys Twitter and Doge is pumping in or coming into the end of a pump. And the news can really make you a bag holder, right? So, can it continue up? Yes, I think, will it? I do believe so. It does, but in the short term, you do get a pullback here. And then from that region, you get really stressed out because if you're buying right here, you just ate, 17 to, depending on where it was, 20% pullback in the last few days, right? So the excitement definitely wore off for anybody that just was getting involved with Solana again around these levels. So based on the news, because if I pulled up a news article, I guarantee that the Google announcement came out right here, if I had to guess. But yeah, so still looking for Solana, rotate the range, right? $55 is that major target that we're looking for over time. But I just want to bring that up, right? So, and then speaking of news and Twitter, Doge, right, has been a flavor of the week for many for the last few, pretty much forever, I guess. But recently we had a nice move, right? And what came at the middle of that move, it necessarily wasn't the end of it, but we were already underway, was, the speculation that because Elon Musk is buying Twitter, that, Doge is just going to continue to rocket up. And it may very well do that over time. But from that exact moment, that was probably right here, once again, right? Or right here, whatever. The move here, right? We've been talking about this for quite a while. We had sniper entries, I guess you could call them, down in this region that we posted within the group. around the quarterly key levels, as well as the previous monthly ranges. If you missed that level, the next area to enter was going to be the 0.082 region. From there, our two targets really did come in perfectly. And then realistically, the main volume target as the point of control, 14 cents, and then the weekly right above that. Came up, got the SFP right at the high here, right before the move down. Major targets to the downside was this untapped monthly key level, which we met that last night. Posted in the group that I personally, right, took 50% of my profits and my position off the table at that level. I'm stop loss in profit above that. And I'm gonna be looking to take it down all the way back down to this golden pocket daily level. And this is also the B leg that comes in for a harmonic that we've been paying attention for as well, right? So we got the, right here, you got the bearish bat, right? That basically concludes with a target down to the B leg with a confluence around the golden pocket in the daily. Do we get it? Guaranteed? Nothing's a guarantee. That's why we take profits along the way. So quarterly VWAP also comes in right at this level. If you lose this monthly, basically at 11 cents, looking to take it down to this next region. So that pretty much concludes, I think, our little update here. Kind of short and sweet today. Really interested to see how the remainder of the week is going to go. Pull up the stream here.
I know you've got a jet, but I'm going to cover SPX and DXY just real quick.
Yeah, perfect.
So yeah, you're looking at the SPX just opened up. So we're going to talk about some areas here and what we should be paying attention to just in terms of overall TA. You can see we came down to the EQ of this channel. You guys know I like my tools. So this is one that I've kind of doctored a little bit, and it's really, really good. You can see that we've got a nice bounce off the EQ in the 0.5. However, if you start looking at the volume on this, number one, our area we were looking for earlier, 24M and the gold pocket, is also your value area low for your year. So that is a range acceptance we need to see. We still have to see this push up, and we're not really bouncing from anything other than the EQ of this channel. Now, this is overall support, in my opinion. It's a very wide zone of support. It's really just meant to box it off for market structure, but it's just showing you the 2021 open and 2021 low. Gold pocket beneath you at the daily level. So showing you the 2021 low is still in play until 38.31 is reclaimed. You've got to turn this into support and get that push up. And then from there, there is one other thing that's in our way. So we are stacking resistances right now. You can look at the quarter four. It is a developing range. However, you can see that you've come up to the high of the value area high after losing it, and you front ran the POC. So if price starts reversing here, we really don't want to see it giving up this Friday open, essentially at the 2021 open. You want to see this kind of trying to hold as support, because otherwise there is a chance you come down and you back test these lows and probably make a new low, which would coordinate with Bitcoin pulling back as well. So we do want to see that get going. In terms of the DXY, you guys know that I've been watching this on the high time frames. So we are looking at a really large pattern, but again, large patterns can take a long time to play out. And so just like Doge, you had a bearish bat on the DXY, really, really well played. You've got a very clear, structured channel. But if we were to go down to like the low time frames as we were earlier, you can see that we've already tagged our weekly level. We tagged our gold pocket after the swing failure pattern. We're coming back to that support now. So if there's a little bit of a bounce, don't be surprised, but it did do something of interest, just like tracking the SPX and tracking its trend. This has been your trend-based generated channel, and we've finally broken it, back tested it here, and we are getting that move down. So what you want to see in this is you want to see this coming down to this level here and then breaking this low right around, what is that, 109.61. So this is what you want to see if you are looking at this from a structural standpoint, which is how I look at the DXY. I don't think it's appropriate to use indicators on it. So you're looking to see this break this level and then go challenge a new low, which I think is going to come all the way down at 105 potentially. You do have some hiccups around 108, but I think 105 would be the next area of interest. And it's such a high time frame chart most of the time that it's tough for that to happen all at once, I think. So if you start breaking back in this channel, however, which the high on this is 111.274, so this daily high, that is where things start to look like, okay, we need to maybe be a little more cautious, and it could look for another push up into this resistance, which wouldn't be good for assets, obviously. So Just keep that in mind. SPX, you're right at resistance. You can see you are getting a nice rejection here. It tried to open to the upside, probably just trap some of those initial buyers and then bring it back down. So, careful. Statistically speaking, on Bitcoin, we have targets lower, which is, that's the play. You're playing statistics and probabilities in this game, and if the stats say lower, and you just had a massive pump up into some resistance, it's kind of one of those things where you want to be cautious on longs. You want to make sure that you're taking good longs with good invalidation, and invalidation still lies underneath 20K in terms of the overall trend. So your risk to reward is, depending on how big you want your stop loss to be, is not that great from this region. So just bear that in mind. That's all I got. Did we lose CVO?
I think CVO dropped off.
That's all right. That's okay. I know he's got to run. He's got some appointments to get to this morning. That's why we kind of did it an hour early. But if there are any questions, spam the chat. Otherwise, we'll hop out of here. And I think Max and I will be around in the group for the New York session here, get some trading in, and we'll go from there, guys. Everybody have a wonderful day.